Eighth pitch of the at-bat, and he struck him out with a forkball. Senga with 7 strikeouts, each one of them with that dastardly first fork.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to the first Shea Station podcast of the 2023 regular season. It's episode 151, and what a good series to kick off the season. The Mets take 3 of 4 from the Florida Fish down in Miami. They are currently the best team in baseball, so maybe we should just end the season right here and now. I'm one of your co-hosts, Jack, aka Jolly. Joining me from Ohio is Jerry Blevins, who was in SNY Studios this past weekend. Jerry, how you doing?
I'm wonderful. I am in Ohio. I got to come home for a few days. I get to see my brother. He's coaching my alma mater's high school varsity baseball game. That's tonight that I get to go watch.
Huge.
Opener. And then I'll be back out at Citi Field for the home opener. The pregame, postgame crew will be out there like we always are, opening day, and then in the postseason kind of setup. So look forward to seeing you.
Yeah, you'll be there as an employee. I will be there as a drunk fan. I'm excited for that. Probably
hopefully
crash.
not that early.
Not at like 1 p.m. sharp, but we're gonna get there.
You
Jared.
go.
Come on, it's gonna be a fun day.
I mean, a beer. Like, what do you like? Are you gonna? What's your attack mode on the new ballpark with the new food, new beverages? Are you gonna sneak into that speakeasy? What are you gonna do?
I'm not gonna go crazy with the food because a lot of it looks like it would take my life if I actually ate it. But I'm probably going to go in with a tall boy strong. I'll be up in the heavens in the 500s because that's where my seat's at. But I'm excited for that because I really like that view of the ballpark. I feel like there's no real bad seat in Citi Field. But it's the first one of the year, so you kind of have to go hard, Jerry,
Yeah, I hope so. Like, that's fun. Getting out there.
Yeah.
There's so many like new attractions at the ballpark and a speakeasy and the K corner.
Oh, I'm excited for the K corner. That's going to be good. Actually, something to do before and after the game, which is brand new to Mets fans. I guess newer Mets fans for sure.
That's what they've been trying to do that for a while.
I know.
Build up the kind of neighborhood, get a Citi Field, Ville, not a Wrigleyville, but but there's some environmental hazards. They literally, the ground is toxic kind of thing that they have to work through. But that's a good start, man. The before and post game, to kind of give somebody, you don't have to rush out. You're not in the middle of traffic if you want to take your time. It's smart.
Lots of good new things coming from the Mets this year. A lot of good new players got to shine in Miami in this past 4-game set, which I am going to rip through a recap of right after I tell you one of today's sponsor, because there is multiple, because Shea Station is hot in the streets. One of those sponsors is DraftKings, as always. Guys, baseball season is in full swing. If you tuned into the opening day stream over at JM Baseball, you saw us doing a lot of live bets, having a lot of fun with that. So whether you're rooting for the home team or betting on your favorite player, DraftKings Sportsbook has got you covered all season long. Right now, new customers can place a $5 bet and get $150 in bonus bets if your team wins. You can use that bonus bet money on some fun same-game parlays. So right now, you should download their free and easy-to-use app now. Join the action on DraftKings Sportsbook. Download the app. Use code SHEA, S-H-E-A. It says it on the overlay because that's the name of the show. New customers bet $5 on any pregame moneyline bet and get $150 in bonus bets if their team wins. Only at the DraftKings Sportsbook. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes for details. And Jerry, without further ado, are you ready to kick off the first recap of the season?
Oh, I'm pumped.
Let's go. Jack, hit the music. I've been dying to hear it for months. Guys, opening day, a matchup full of a couple of nobodies. How about Max Scherzer and reigning NL Cy Young Sandy Alcantara? They dueled it out for the first 5 innings. It was 1-0 Mets thanks to a Brandon Nimmo sacrifice fly. Later on in the 6th, it was 3-0 Mets. Lindor adds a sac fly of his own, and Jeff McNeil, who was very pesky in the series, adds an RBI single. Max Scherzer looked sharp in the start, made a couple of mistakes late in the 6th inning, but ultimately turned in a quality outing. He surrendered doubles to Stallings, Arias, and then a home run to Garrett Cooper in the 6th, but ultimately 6 innings pitched, 3 earned runs, 6 strikeouts, and just the 1 home run allowed. He had 13 whiffs. He looked pretty good on this day. Nimmo's 2-run double off Tanner Scott gave the Mets the lead later on. He finishes the day with 3 RBIs. And the bullpen kind of gets some shine. Drew Smith, Brooks Raley, and David Robertson combined for 3 scoreless innings in their first real test of the new Mets bullpen. They strike out 6 and allow 1 hit. The Mets win the game 5-3. David Robertson gets his first save with the Mets. All good things on opening day, but kind of not so much on Game 2. The Mets would lose Game 2, 2-1. David Peterson was battling traffic throughout this entire start, although his final game line was pretty nice. 5 innings pitched, 1 earned run, but he did allow 8 hits and a walk during that, including a home run. Jorge Soler was the star of this game for the Miami Marlins. He crushed a second inning home run off Peterson and later robbed Starling Marte of an RBI hit that would have tied the game for the Mets. Jesus Luzardo, who the Marlins acquired in the Starling Marte trade a couple years ago, was absolutely flawless in this game. He allowed just a hit and 2 walks through 5 scoreless innings. He looked really, really good up until the 6th, where he kind of ran out of steam. The Mets had a bases-loaded 2-out opportunity, but Pete Alonso lined out to deep center field. They got nothing from that. And then Jazz Chisholm absolutely pimped a home run in the 8th inning off John Curtis to make it 2-0 Marlins. Pete Alonso gave the Mets their first home run of the year in the 9th inning off A.J. Puck, but it was too little too late, so the Mets lose that game too. But they bounce back in Game 3. Tyler McGill, my guy, looked pretty good. He held steady during his season debut. 5 innings pitched, 2 earned runs, 7 strikeouts, just the 1 home run to Nick Fortes allowed. So he looked great, gave the Mets a chance to win instead of Justin Verlander, which is pretty nice. Omar Narvaez batting out of the 9-hole, the new catcher on the block. He had a pretty nice game here. He had 2 RBIs with a sac fly and a 4th inning RBI single. Mark Canha, though, was the star of this game. He came a triple shy of the cycle, homered off Braxton Garrett in the 7th, so he had a great day after a couple shaky first 2 games, which was nice to see. Over on the other side, Luis Arias was an absolute pest this entire series. He went 4 for 5 in this game. He is going to be annoying all year long, but the Mets bullpen held it together again in this game. 4 shutout innings, 4 hits allowed, 1 walk, 5 strikeouts. That was Dennis Santana, Drew Smith, Brooks Raley, Adam Ottavino, and David Robertson. They got the job done. Mets win Game 3, 6-2. And then in the finale, Kodai Senga's debut. I got the Senga shirt on today, shop.jomboymedia.com if you want to get one yourself. But things were looking shaky at the beginning. Kodai Senga allowed 2 hits and 2 walks in the first 4 batters, didn't get an out, but he battled back. He threw 35 pitches in the first inning, but still turned in a very quality outing, settling in after that. 5 1/3 innings, 1 earned run, 8 strikeouts, all on the ghost fork on the day. After that first inning, he allowed just 52 pitches after the fact, 1 hit and 1 walk. And the Mets offense was quiet up until the 5th inning, where Tommy Pham turned in a really good effort. He crushes a 2-run home run, and later on he doubled home run in the 7th. He went 3 for 4 with 3 RBI, a stolen base, and a walk. He shined in Game 4, and the Mets bullpen got it done again. Dennis Santana, John Curtis, and Steven Nagosic, first outing of the year. He goes 2 innings to finish this one off and seal a 5-1 win. The Mets take 3 of 4 in Miami, and they head to Milwaukee, feeling pretty damn good.
Feeling pretty damn good, I think, sums it up.
Yeah.
You want to start with Senga?
I feel like we gotta, right?
I think so too. I was really impressed. I felt the nerves. I could feel the anxiety because of the first inning. You want it to go smooth. It doesn't always go that way. But what he did do was settle in. He had a run in, bases loaded. It's already 1-0, nobody out, and he escapes it.
Yeah. 1
run, and then he cruises basically from there. He had some control issues, which is going to happen. That's kind of been his story of his career. But man, did he look good. That the ghost fork looked amazing. His fastball touching 99 at times. I was really impressed with his cutter, which is something that he's been working on. He's been throwing it like 90 to 92. I think that's going to help him a lot because as good as that fastball velocity is, it's a very visible fastball.
Right.
So the velocity is great. He knows how to spot it, but the hitter sees it out of his hand a lot of the time because of the way he delivers it. But I was impressed, man. I liked his poise. I liked his mound presence. I liked the stuff too. That ghost fork as advertised, man.
Yeah.
What'd you think?
I mean, it was everything you could have dreamed for, and I'm really glad that he wasn't afraid to throw it. He was really showcasing his best weapon there. And from the get-go, even though he was shaky at the beginning, it looked like he had his best stuff. He was topping out at 99, like you said. He didn't throw that cutter that much, but when he did, it looked really good, and the sweeper got some whiffs as well. But the main story was definitely that ghost fork, which he got all of his strikeouts on, which is crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it was devastating. It's, he uses it like a changeup, which he should. It's like the way he holds it it's the same as Carrasco's split change.
Right.
It's the difference is how he delivers it with his wrist placement. It was good, man. It was very good. And coming off that fastball where guys have to gear up, I think it's going to be a real weapon. I was happy with what I saw. I think he's going to be, the hype is real.
Yeah. And it's reassuring after losing Verlander on opening day to know that you're going to have some sort of firepower weapon right behind Max Scherzer going forward. Two things I want to highlight. One is that, like you said before, the first inning jitters were real for Kodai Senga. He said that his legs felt like ghosts, which I thought was pretty funny, kind of on the nose a little bit there. But one other thing I really want to highlight is that a lot of the guys, as Kodai said, gave him a lot of confidence through their words, especially Francisco Lindor. He highlighted Lindor kind of settling him down and reassuring him. And I think that's important because, he is the new guy on the block. There is that language barrier in between. But I feel like the Mets teammates really came together and helped, settle him down. And in turn, he turned in one of the best outings we've seen so far in the young baseball season.
Yeah, I mean, that does. There was a lot of times where, by the way, Lindor, we're going to talk about him
that
separately
defense?
because,
oh my
wow.
God.
But he's still making his big league debut. Like, he's an established star, Japanese star. But this is the big leagues. This is the show. This is a debut. This is a culmination of a dream of his. There's still some do I belong?
Right.
Is this going to be there? And to see him kind of struggle and then lock it in and see the team kind of rally around him, and then seeing him mingle in the dugout, super cool.
Yeah.
I was very, very impressed with this team gels well, and he's not letting a language barrier get in his way, and the rest of the Mets aren't either. They're using that translator. It's an awkward interaction when you don't know who to talk to.
Right.
You know what I mean? But they're forcing it upon each other. It's just very refreshing. And from a strictly baseball stuff, if he stays healthy, the way they're going to monitor him, I really love that. I really love that cutter. I think that's going to be the difference between him having major success here and him being pretty good.
I agree with that. And it went from an all-time kind of nightmare start to something that was really heartwarming by the end of it, which is awesome. And that win does not come together without 4 innings from the Mets bullpen, who had a really, really good first showing in this first 4-game set. A lot of things could have went wrong, but at the end of it, it was just the one home run to Jazz Chisholm from John Curtis. That was the only run any of the relievers led up, and everyone kind of did their part, which was really cool.
Yeah, I mean, Dennis Santana came in and looked good.
How about him?
Very impressed.
Late pickup.
Yeah. But everybody kind of played their own part. Got a couple of innings from a couple of different guys. Tommy Hunter looked good. Nagosic we talked about. Drew Smith. There was a point where Drew Smith in the first game talked about Justin Verlander coming up to him and reassuring him about his fastball, using it in the top of the zone. They talked about it in spring training. Amazing.
Yep.
That's an awesome sign. Very impressed by the bullpen.
Yeah, lots to love. Ottavino still looks like he had his best stuff. John Curtis got to kind of redeem himself in Game 4. And then it was really the middle relief guys that I was really impressed with. You mentioned Dennis Santana, who was a really late addition to the Mets bullpen. Steven Nagosic mopped up 2 innings yesterday, which was huge because the Mets are playing again today at 2 and are going to probably need their best guys against the Brewers. So all around it was great. David Robertson getting 2 ninth-inning appearances kind of tells us what his role is going to be. It might still be a committee, but I think I feel best with probably David Robertson getting those save opportunities.
It's his until it isn't. It's his. So that's how I feel. But Brooks Raley, man, wow.
Yeah, it's gonna be this. When's the last time we had a truly how many pitches does Brooks Raley have? 5 pitches?
Pretty much, yeah.
Something crazy.
He spent time in Korea as a starter, and it shows. We all knew that sweeper was coming. I was even more impressed with it live because I know how hard it is to do that.
Right.
But his fastball placement was awesome, and then he has that changeup off of that. That's he's going to save some games for this team too. I think, especially kind of when Harper gets back.
I was going to say when the Phillies are in town, it might make a lot of sense.
You have Schwarber and Harper, either back to back or one hitter in between kind of thing.
Yep.
he's going to play a part because I love his matchup against Schwarber. I think that he plays well against him, who is just yeah. So I really like. I was very impressed with the bullpen, and they stepped up because it could have been a bad narrative.
Yeah.
It could have they could have been like, oh, all right, we need to trade for somebody immediately. This is it's all downhill, but they stepped up, man.
I mean,
As I knew they would, but they shut it down immediately.
we can talk about overreactions because, this series does kind of lend itself to one specific storyline, which I feel like we should talk about. But if you want to talk about the good first, I'm also down with
No,
that.
I think if you're talking about Escobar, right?
I am talking about Eduardo Escobar.
I think it's fair to talk about
Yeah.
because it's as much as I don't enjoy it, it's a real thing because Beatty's going off in AAA. He continued from his hot spring, and Escobar got chewed up a little bit. Granted, he got to face Alcantara, who is still the best pitcher in baseball, I think.
Right? Yeah.
Then he got to face Jesus Luzardo, who looks like an absolute weapon. I think he's a budding superstar. Ran out of gas in the sixth, but got away with it.
So,
But they both are changeup guys, and Escobar's nemesis is a changeup. And then he just kind of, I hope he doesn't press, but it's a storyline, and we need to talk about it.
I do think he was pressing a little bit in Game 4, specifically his last two at bats where he kind of went down in 4 pitches, was swinging at some pretty poor pitch choices there. And yeah, I think it has to be in his head because it's kind of the worst storm for him with Brett Baty opening the AAA season really, really well. 5 for 14, 2 home runs, both off lefty pitchers, by the way, 5 RBI and a walk. And he had a great spring, obviously, and Eduardo didn't have a great spring, and I think that's kind of bleeding into his confidence here. He's going to get the day off today in the first day in Milwaukee, and hopefully that can be a reset for him. He'll get Wade Miley in the middle game, so he'll get to bat righty. That's the biggest thing. I need to see him hit from the right side because that's the thing we know he can do. And then the left side came late last year. But I think that, it's going to get late early for Eduardo Escobar. I don't know how long this leash is going to be.
Yeah, this is the way you summed it up in the notes is how long is the leash? And the answer is on him.
Yeah.
That's the thing. And again, this is a sport. It's competitive. I still believe in who he is as a player. I still think he's got plenty of thump left in that bat. But if he doesn't turn it on a little bit, like not even turn it on, he doesn't have to get hot like he did last September. He just has to play himself. If he doesn't start making consistent contact, I think that leash is going to continue to get shorter and shorter. My first instinct out of the gate was give him a month, give him the month of April. And if it's horrible, then they'll make the change regardless. But if Beatty's putting the pressure on him as you want to happen. Yeah, it's not there yet, but it's definitely in everybody's thought process.
Yeah, and Mets fans will, they're going to overreact because that's just kind of the natural stasis of the fan base right now because, this is a team with lofty expectations. And it was kind of, I think it was highlighted more because there was no real Mets star hitter in this 4-game series, but everyone kind of did their part. Like Brandon Nimmo had the 3 RBI in Game 1. Tommy Pham had a great Game 4. Pete Alonso came up with a home run. Jeff McNeil was pesky. Everyone kind of did their own part. And the glaring hole in the lineup was Eduardo Escobar, who went 1 for 16, played all 4 games, struck out 7 times, and left a lot of guys on base out of that 8 hole. And it's exactly what you said. Eduardo Escobar does not need to be September Escobar, although we would love that if that were the case. But he needs to be league average. He needs to provide some pop. He needs to play a good third base. And if he can do those things, I think he'll stave off Beatty for a little bit longer. But even if Beatty does come up, Eduardo Escobar could be a really, really nice bench piece if that were to be the case as well.
Yeah, it's too early to talk about this.
Sure.
What his role would be if he does get shipped out. I think he would be more valuable to stay around.
Yeah.
Because I don't see him getting bitter. He understands that the Mets are paying him. This is his team. If he loses his starting job, which it would be, he would lose it. He's been given the opportunity. He's a grown man. He can handle it. I think he would be a weapon off the bench and a good mentor as he's already been to Beatty. I think that's usually this would be ship him off, let him go play somewhere else, see what they can get out of him. I don't think that would be it for him, because a lot of guys can't handle this.
Yeah.
And I think he's mature enough to do it.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a Darren Ruff situation where it's a DFA or anything like that. The Mets
or even like a Dom Smith thing,
right,
where
it's not a change of
Pete
scenery
Alonso
thing
shows up and takes his job, but then he's bitter because he's not getting his ABs.
Right.
I think Escobar would be a bench piece.
Yeah, he is valuable to team morale. He's valuable to providing options for the Mets, whether it's a platoon or a bench.
I mean, he's a switch hitter.
Exactly.
Like, that's an amazing piece to have off the bench, or supplementing the infield. He's whatever the case may be. Like, if Guillorme were a switch hitter, I think Guillorme would be playing like every day.
Right. And I think that it's not going to be a pressing issue, but this will be something we're going to have to monitor for probably the next few weeks.
Yep.
Again,
so right now, my instinct to answer your question, how long is the leash?
Yeah.
April.
Yeah, I think that's probably fair.
When the calendar flips, I think they're going to reassess, and if it continues this poorly, which I don't think it will, and Beatty stays that hot, I could see it happening faster.
Yeah, and I mean, so what? The Eduardo Escobar is going to get basically, 25 more games to figure. And we're 4 games in, so this is obviously an overreaction. We could be laughing at this in a week's time if he has a great week. But, it's worth mentioning because I think outside of Eduardo Escobar, the Mets lineup looked like they were in prime 2022 form in some of these games, especially with stringing together rallies and drawing walks, and Tim LeCastro getting hit by 2 pitches and scoring 2 runs, which, I got to shout out because that's hilarious. But everyone kind of did their part. Alonso provided some pop. Did anyone stand out to you from the Mets lineup in these 4 games?
Yeah, 2 guys. I mean, more than one guy stood out.
Sure.
Nothing like glaring, like, we'll get to the apple.
Yeah.
But I want to shout out Narvaez looked great.
Yeah, how about it?
Very good. Mark Canha, after an atrocious first 2 games, looked incredible the last 2 games.
Yep.
Starling Marte is so dynamic, looked awesome. And then Tommy Pham, who had a horrible spring, had me sweating the whole time, came out and played some good defense and really looked the part at the dish. So Tommy Pham, reassured us that this is what you think of when you're in spring training and you see a veteran guy struggling. You're like, he'll be fine.
Yeah.
He'll be fine.
Yeah, I think the thing I tweeted after his last hit in the last game was maybe we should all shut up about Tommy Pham, which is fair because I think we were all kind of over it. Why is he batting leadoff? Why is he playing center field? I was doing the same thing. I get it.
I still don't know why he was in leadoff, but it worked.
It worked.
And Buck's smarter than me.
And he stole a base, so I mean there is speed there, I guess. There's that element.
Yeah. But again, he looked great.
Yeah, and I don't know if you saw, but apparently he credited his eye doctor for fine-tuning his contact lenses right before the game on Friday, and apparently that's allowing him to see better at the plate than he did all of spring. Don't know how much to read into that, but that's definitely something.
I mean, it's a sight. It's a real deal.
Yeah, I like the guys you highlighted, especially Narvaez, because, I don't want to beat down a dead horse or whatever, but I will say having something out of the 9 hole is really nice. And I'm not going to, name a name, but we all know who I'm talking about. And at times in the past years, it felt like a black hole down there. And to see, even if it didn't result in a run, just the line moving, even when it gets to the 9 hole, was really nice.
See the potential of a thing happening. Yeah, no, I get it. You weren't the only one that felt that.
Yeah.
I saw quite a bit on Twitter.
Yeah,
people are like,
I think it's fair.
That's reassuring.
We wish him well. I hope he does well in Baltimore because I like.
Oh yeah, and shout out to Timmy LoCastro.
How about it?
I didn't realize that this team is full of guys that just love getting hit by a baseball.
Oh, that's awesome. I mean, he
Cohen
fits the mold perfectly.
About, his rate of hits on his career, he would break every record.
It's insane. Wait, let me pull it up. So I really love that. I think Keith highlighted it, that Tim LoCastro most certainly leans into pitches, but he's very, very good at making it seem like he's trying to get out of the way.
Yeah, so he turns but sticks his elbow out. So you're moving, but you're moving. But you're moving toward. By the way, if I hit him and he was doing that, I would hit him again the next at bat, but make sure that it hits him in a place. I swear to God. So that's gamesmanship, but you're that bothers me as a pitcher. Dietrich, remember Derek Dietrich?
Yeah, I do.
He used to do that too, and bothered me all the time. Because swing the bat. If I hit you, that's fine. If I throw a ball inside and you don't get out of the way, that's fine too. Like that's my fault. But if I throw a ball over the plate and you pretend and you stick your elbow out over the plate, a la Michael Conforto, if you do that regularly, I'm going to have a problem with that because I think that's yuck baseball. But again, this is what LeCastro does. This is his kind of grindy role, and it fits perfectly into what the Mets are trying to do. Not only does his defense and speed play up, but that kind of at bat over what Darren Ruff was providing.
Right.
It's a great supplement for this team, and it makes the roster like more complete.
Yeah, I mean, the speed dynamic was huge. He was actually one of the guys that didn't steal a base this weekend. We saw Marte and Nimmo and Pham all take one, but he got hit by a pitch twice in the last game and came around to score both times. So there's value in just getting on base there. What you mentioned before, he has 39 hit by pitches in 552 career plate appearances. That would be the 5th most all-time in a regular season, but all the seasons I have here are like 1898 and like 1897. So it would be a modern record, essentially. So that's Tim
Exactly.
LeCastro. That's Timmy Low Ball, baby. Is there anything else you want to highlight before we get to our first Apple of the year?
I want to say a few things.
Yeah.
One, Max Scherzer had a lot on his shoulders because of Verlander going down.
Right.
Scherzer looked incredible. He gave up that 3-run homer, but he was dominant throughout. So I was very impressed by what I saw from Scherzer. He looked very good. You know, his year last year was amazing. Like his numbers were crazy.
Yeah, we talked about it in the PPP. It was like, wow, I don't remember it being that good.
It didn't feel dominant like that because it was few and far between in that fastball, but he had good zip on his fastball and he looked good. Lindor's defense, unbelievable.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Lindor did his thing at the plate, but what he did in the field with the banning of the shifts, he's always been kind of his drawback defensively was his arm strength. And he still doesn't have the greatest arm, but he gets himself into position to throw, releases it quickly, and makes all the plays.
Yeah.
Like there was plays up the middle that he made. There are plays to his right in the hole towards third base where he planted and threw. What a pleasure to watch that guy play baseball every day.
It looks like he's having like a lot of fun out there, like actually playing the natural shortstop position and having to make these like tough throws. I mean, the Tyler McGill one, he basically saved his line because Brian De La Cruz lines one basically in the hole. It would be a single against basically every other team, but Lindor picks it and just makes it look so easy with that long throw. He looked great.
I mean, he's just the defense in general. Marte had a misplay in right that turned into a triple.
Misplay.
That was bad.
That should
there
be
was
an
a
error.
bunch of guys that had some issues in the outfield.
Yeah.
Like, you know, Jazz we'll talk about. I think first of all, it's uncomfortable to play center field for your first time ever in the big league.
It's not his fault. Like we should say that.
Also, the first one, Nimmo's hit that he misplayed, Nimmo smashed that ball.
Yeah.
That is not Jazz's fault. Nimmo hit that ball way harder than he should have been able to hit that ball. Like that was a good pitch. He went down and got it. So naturally your instinct would be, especially with Jazz's speed, is I can cut this off. And it just scooted. So that one wasn't his fault. He got kind of aired out on the broadcast, but he did make some other mistakes. But
he made the routine ones, which I think is, worth mentioning, but it's his first time playing the position professionally. He didn't play it at all in the minor leagues. And the Marlins roster, which I do want to say, I'm a fan of the Marlins infield defense.
They're gonna be good.
They look like they're much better than last year.
Their bullpen is meh.
I like Puck back there. I thought he looked really good, honestly. I mean, Alonso swung first pitch.
I'm a fan of his, but McNeil made a play.
Yeah, the throw home was awesome.
It was incredible. So that play, the throw home, it goes off of Pete's glove. So there's a runner on second.
Yeah.
It goes off Pete's glove. McNeil goes and he slides to stop the ball and keep it on the infield because normally that would shut down the runner at third from going home. So that he didn't do his first year or two.
Right.
That ball would get through. So he stopped that, but he also in that whole process, remember that it's John Birdie who's speedy, at third, so he's going to keep going. So he makes this play, turns and throws and fires it, saves a run, saves the game. Like, the Mets defense made some plays, so that was awesome to see.
This was a really fun series because I think the defense on both sides was really, really good. Like, Jorge Soler had a fantastic game too, where he stole the spot. And like, he's not a good defensive right fielder by metrics, but he looked great out there. The new Marlins infield is awesome. Arias is going to be so annoying this year on both sides of the ball.
First of all, offensively, the guy has a shot at 400.
Dude,
defensively,
it's
at
insane.
second base,
it's crazy.
He looked good.
Yeah. No, they got a real good piece there. That's a good trade for the Marlins, honestly.
I agree.
Because they don't need Pablo Lopez. They got good starting pitching. It's crazy. Yeah. Gene Segura looked good at third. That was his first time playing there, I think. Joey Wendell at short, I thought wouldn't be a fit, but he looked comfortable.
He looked fine.
Garrett Cooper, how about it? He was picking it at first base too. So the Marlins, I think they're fielding.
If he can stay healthy, gosh, he's annoying.
Yeah, they were just annoying. They were just annoying.
Yeah, like he got one thrown and he's like staring down the pitcher. I'm like, dude, relax, relax, come on. But he's so good and he can rake. His issue is staying healthy. He did make some plays at first. Who was at first after him? Who was the other?
Yuli Gurriel.
Yuli, who's a really good first baseman, just dropped the ball.
Like, did you see the pickoff attempt where Yuli got ready to field and then the throw came over and he just was not ready at all?
He was a late addition over there, so he's still kind of getting his feet wet. But they're going to be pesky because they can pitch, man. Sandy Alcantara, we all know what he's capable of doing.
Yeah.
If Jesus Luzardo can stay healthy, that guy looks amazing. He's throwing 100 from the left side with a nasty changeup curveball. Looks good. They got some team. They got some firepower. So
I'm very curious to see how they do towards like against some of the more middle of the pack teams, because I do think they'll be much better than they were last year. I think the bullpen's
they're pesky,
improved.
Man. They're pesky. I think
can string together a lineup.
They're gonna be. They're the fourth best team in our division, but they're competitive. Like, the Nationals are not competitive. This team is competitive.
Well, they could be the third. Phillies got swept. Just saying. All right, I think it's time we give our awards out. But before we do that, Jerry,
we have another. What would be our second of two? I mean, what do we say? What do we call it? Sponsors. That's
Jerry's
the thing.
first ad read.
Sponsors. This is my first sponsor read. This one is HelloFresh. HelloFresh takes the hassle out of mealtime this spring by delivering pre-portioned ingredients and easy-to-prepare recipes right to your door. Skip the checkout line because HelloFresh has dinner covered. HelloFresh keeps your taste buds on their toes with 40 recipes and over 100 seasonal and convenience items to choose from each week. Looking for more ways to save this spring? HelloFresh is cheaper than grocery shopping and 25% cheaper than takeout. No worries if you're not a pro in the kitchen. HelloFresh's foolproof recipes arrive pre-portioned and easy to prepare in just a few steps. True story, we have HelloFresh. They sent us some free meals, just for this prep. Didn't need them. I took them. They taught me how to cook, basically, because
let's go.
yeah, like, I travel all around, obviously in baseball, and you can't keep ingredients fresh while you're traveling every 5 days from someplace else. And so when HelloFresh came around, I was like, cool, I always wanted to cook. And so I started following their recipes to the T. Like, I can read instructions and follow. Now I'm starting to riff on them a little bit. I'll be like, ooh, I want a little spice here. So I'll throw in some, red pepper flake or whatever the case may be. But it all starts with having the proper ingredients. Go to HelloFresh.com/Shea50 for 50% off, plus your first box ships free. That's HelloFresh.com/Shea50 and start using America's #1 meal kit today.
Look at you go, Jerry Blevins. Unnatural.
Couldn't think of sponsor, but I got it.
You got stage fright right before. That was great.
I was just like, what's this word I'm trying to think of?
HelloFresh was really, really good. We got 3 meals from them, and they were all easy to make, like 30-minute cooks and delicious. So very glad they're partnering with us for
me too. That's a fun one.
A few episodes this season. All right, Jerry, do you want to do the first apple or should I?
I want you to take the first one.
All
I
right,
think mine's obvious, so I think yours is a little.
we might double up. I don't know.
We're not going to double.
We
I'll
might
pivot.
double up. All right, pivot. I'm doing the guy that's on my shirt today, the Kodai Senga shirt. Kodai Senga had an excellent MLB debut, and I think it's made all the more sweet by how he battled back after that really shaky start to it, where I was very, very nervous for him. 5 1/3 innings, 1 earned run, 3 hits, 3 walks, 8 strikeouts. Most of that came in the first inning. After the fact, all those strikeouts came in the second through fifth. He was spectacular. The Mets kind of kept him on a tighter pitch count, but he looked great after he settled in. He had a 7-pitch third inning. All of his strikeouts were on that ghost fork, generated plenty of whiffs with the sweeper as well. He just looked great. It was very, very reassuring, I think, for Mets fans everywhere who don't know when exactly we'll see Justin Verlander for the first time this season, but can know that you'll get a great start out of Max Scherzer and probably Kodai Senga now because he looked absolutely fantastic. He gets the apple of my eye.
Well deserved, Kodai. And just like the coolest name.
Oh, come on.
Kodai, what a cool name.
They said it so much on the broadcast, too.
They did. I would have too. I want to give a shout out before I pick mine. My shout out is for Starling Marte, who went 5 for 14, had a run scored, a double, an RBI, those 2 stolen bases, which I think I'm shooting for 40 from him.
Dude, I mean, he's going a lot. It looks good.
Yeah, she looks good. He's so dynamic, man. He's such a presence. Having him at in the 2 spot in right field, he did have a blunder that cost a run, but he made a good throw. That first of all, the replay ruined what could have been an amazing time for the Mets. Like it could have changed the outcome a couple of times. We'll talk about that before we close out. How we thought the feel of the rules and stuff. Anyway, but Marte shout out, but my apple goes to the New York Mets bullpen.
I knew it.
Have to.
Knew it.
Right off the bat, you get a save situation. You have 3 innings left. You get Drew Smith, who comes in and gets a runner on and then dominates with that fastball. Then you get Brooks Raley, who's the lefty, coming in and just looks unhittable. And then David Robertson comes in, shows some poise, and gets the save. They go perfect 1, 2, 3. And then from there, they only gave up 1 run and 12 2/3. It was a solo shot by Jazz Chisholm. They gave up 6 hits, 15 punch outs, and only 3 walks. It was a stellar performance. One that was the biggest question mark with Edwin Diaz's injury. It was a talking point. And if they blow that first game, we're having a completely different conversation, because it would be, how long is the leash for Eduardo Escobar, and how long do we have to wait for them to trade for Bednar or Alexis Diaz, which I hope they don't do. But I wanted to shout out the bullpen. They are the apple of my eye.
Beautiful. Yeah, I mean, I think those are the 2 most deserving. A lot of Mets bats did their thing. Tommy Pham was good. Mark Canha had his game. Alonso homered. But yeah, it came down to the pitching, and the Mets pitching showed up in a big way against a Marlins lineup that looked a lot more formidable than it did this time last year. So really encouraging start. And before we jump to the series probables, I do want to, go back to what you were saying before. Just the overall feeling of the game itself, the watching experience. How was it in your eyes?
It was good. I love the pitch clock. I love the fact that the game speeds along. We had a 2 hour and 9 minute full game.
Yeah, we did.
A little bit too fast for my liking, but I liked it. We did have some blunders though, with Pete Alonso not getting back and the umpires calling a strike in a pivotal point. Where McNeil's up. It was unnecessary, and they were wrong. And then they had that after Kodai came out, they had a strike 3 called. And he didn't have to throw a pitch. So that was a point where I hope those go away. So this is how I've said it a few times now, and I think it fits perfectly. I want them to call the game, especially later, that shot clock violation. I want them to do it like the NFL calls holding penalties. Unless it's egregious, don't throw the flag. You know what I mean? We don't need you to stop. The barrier's there because players were taking double that. So if you can shrink that down to where it's got a little bit of a buffer zone on either side, especially in big moments, especially late in the game where the pitches matter a little bit more. Let the drama build. I don't want to see interruptions from the umpires, but it was necessary, and I really like the pace of play now.
Yeah, I think it's partially making an example out of some people. Like, hey, like get used to this because it's going to be around. Everyone's learning around you. You know, other guys didn't get any violations in this series, so you can too. As per the viewing experience, on opening day, I was watching 7 games at one time, and it was really great because everywhere I looked, a pitch was being thrown. Something was happening because all the games are moving at the same pace. I think some guys are going to have to, get accustomed to it. We saw some former Mets really struggle in their first outing with the pitch clock yesterday.
Like who?
You're going to make me name the name?
Yeah.
Chris Bassett got lit up for 9 runs in 3 innings in his Blue Jays debut. And that's a guy
You think
that
it was
I know.
because of the pitch com?
The one thing I remember about Chris Bassett is that he was very methodical before pitches. He has 6 pitches to sift through. He was a very slow worker, and I think that this is something that's probably affecting him.
Yeah. I would be surprised if it was because of the pitch clock, but I think he's a pro. He should be able to iron it out.
Right.
So yeah.
And I think that's going to be the adjustment period probably in the first 2 weeks for a lot of the guys that have been in the big leagues for a while and have no real experience with this. But in terms of the viewing experience, I really liked it. I mean, game 2 was a bad Mets game and was also very fast. So you can take it one way of, okay, they lost quicker, so that's nice. But also, it kind of felt like it flashed through in a really quick second. 2 hours and 9 minutes is a very fast game.
That's ridiculous.
But the average time of game so far this year is 2 hours and 40 minutes. So it's basically just a trimmed down version of what we had last year, which was 3 hours and 8 minutes. I got that from Buster Olney after the first 3 games of the season. So I think it's for the best, and I think guys will get more accustomed, and you'll see less and less of those violations.
Yep. I also love the banning of the shift.
Yeah,
I loved it. We got to see some great plays on defense. We got to see balls that were hit into the shift that are actually base hits now.
Yeah.
We got to see a lot more dribblers where you get,
base hits are base hits
diving
again.
Past each other.
Yeah.
It's just better. It's baseball.
Yeah.
Hitters are going to I just like that. What do you think about it?
I loved it. And I mean, it really highlights which teams thrive defensively and which teams do not. Like we kind of saw that around the league a little bit. Like the Cardinals are going to benefit a lot from this because they have great infield defense. The Mets are going to as well. The Marlins improved their infield defense, so they're going to benefit from it. And in terms of that, and also, the bigger bases and pickoff rules, a ton more stolen bases this year already. It's like an element of the game that's returning to baseball, which has kind of been, in the back ways for about the past decade or so. I think you're going to see a lot of guys swipe 40 this year, guys that we know are fast and are also faces of the game, kind of returning to stolen base prowess. So in terms of the changes to the game outside of the pitch clock, I really enjoyed all of them.
Yep. I don't miss the number of pickoff attempts. Like I don't want to talk about it anymore unless they do 2.
I don't. Did I see anyone use all of their pickoff attempts? Did that happen? And
there was a couple guys that picked over twice. Peterson did it.
Yeah.
I want to say Scherzer did it once.
Okay.
But yeah, I don't think I don't want to hear about any of the changes anymore. I just want them to play in those parameters and we can just watch baseball.
Totally
I think it's coming. It's very close, but I love seeing stolen bases. I love seeing great defense. I love seeing pitchers move quicker. It's just a better product to consume. I enjoy it. It's so fast. When I was in the booth for spring training games, literally couldn't keep a scorebook.
Yeah, Howie said it was like calling a hockey game, and I think
I couldn't write down, especially when we were pitching, and that's my kind of bread and butter, and I got to evaluate.
Yeah.
I have no I would be looking at game day, going, oh, okay, what happened? Catching back up. But in pre and post, it's fun to follow along.
Yeah.
It's baseball. It's like the better brand of baseball. It's weird to say because my whole career was in the slow era and it just kept getting slower.
Yep.
I don't miss it. I don't miss the slowness. Again, I don't ever want an umpire to step in and call strike 3 on a guy for it.
Yep.
Unless he's being stupid and not near it. If he's getting into the box, don't call it. Again, you're making an example, but you did it in spring training. Just give me a little bit of buffer zone. That way guys get in there. You watch Mark Canha is just locked in and he's in there and it's just better.
Yeah, I agree. I think you summed it up well, man. And it makes me excited to watch a baseball game in 3 hours because the Mets are playing Milwaukee like right after we're done recording, which is pretty cool.
So I wanted to talk about Scherzer looked amazing.
Yep.
David Peterson showed poise. He didn't have his control down, but he also only walked one guy.
Yep.
And he trusted that defense behind him, and he made pitches when he needed to. Tyler McGill, it was weird. I think he pitched really well. I didn't see the elite stuff that I thought we might again. He had glimpses of it, but I was I was pleased to see how he pitched. And then Kodai was great after that first inning. I'm really excited to see what Cookie brings today. Yeah. So that'll be there, and then they've just turn it back over. So Scherzer will be back.
You want to take me through Mets versus Milwaukee?
Yeah, here we go. Mets in Milwaukee. They'll be playing in a dome again, thank goodness, because it's cold up in the north. Game 1 is Cookie Carrasco versus Freddie Peralta. Willie Adames 7 for 9 with a homer against Cookie. Pay attention to that one. Lindor is 1 for 3 with a homer against Peralta. And Carrasco was solid in his 4 spring starts. He went 13 innings, gave up just over a 4 ERA on 12 hits and 14 punchies to only 2 walks. And Peralta threw 7+ innings in the start just once last year, so expect them to get into the bullpen early. That brings us to Game 2, Max Scherzer's second start of the season versus Wade Miley. Victor Caratini, the catcher, is 7 for 15 with a homer off Max Scherzer. I expect him to get a start. Starling Marte, 9 for 22. Lindor, 5 for 13. And Pete Alonso, 3 for 6 with a homer, all like facing Wade Miley, the lefty. Scherzer in Milwaukee in September of last year went 6 shutout, no hit, no walk, 9 Ks in the clinching game that sent the Mets to the playoffs. And then Scherzer in his career at Miller Park. I don't know if it's Miller Park anymore.
Oh, it's not. It's American Family Field.
American Family Field. That's okay, Jolly. It's still, it's early. He's got 39 career innings pitched in Milwaukee, which is really like a significant bit. He has a 2.31 ERA and 55 strikeouts to only 8 walks with a .77 career whip there, which is saying something because that ballpark is not pitcher friendly.
That is right.
That brings us to Game 3. David Peterson, the big lefty, versus Corbin Burns, the angry man after his arbitration case. Got knocked around a little bit in his first start, but he was my pick for the National League Cy Young. We'll see if he can bounce back. Willie Adames, it's their dynamic shortstop, and Brian Anderson both have multiple hits off Peterson. Pete Alonso is 4 for 12, and McNeil's 4 for 13, and have home runs off Corbin Burns. That was a big one for Pete. Hit some good pitches off Burns last year.
Yes, sir.
Peterson yielded 9 base runners in just 5 innings of work against Miami, but worked his way through those jams. Last year versus Milwaukee, he had 2 games. He went 4 2/3, gave up 5 earned runs on 6 hits, 3 walks, and only 4 Ks. The Cubs beat Burns on opening day with 4 hits and 4 runs and 3 walks. Burns against Miami last year, 2 starts, 1-1, 11 2/3 innings, 7 earnings on 12 hits, 1 walk, and 12 Ks. And in the matchup, Scherzer beat Burns in the playoff clinching game last September.
Nicely done, Jerry. First of the year.
That is the 3-game set.
Miller Park just sounds better than American Family Field.
I couldn't agree with you more.
It just sounds better.
Cleveland is Progressive Field, but in my head, it's Jacobs Field because that's what it was.
Exactly. They rename them, but we can just call it whatever we want. They have no power.
It's the truth. That's only paid advertising for a little bit.
A lot of matchups to like here. The Mets have hit Corbin Burns well in recent team history. The Brewers lineup kind of was quiet against the Cubs, so that could work out for our pitching staff, which has looked good so far. Very curious to see how Cookie Carrasco does in his first start. Curious to see how long he goes, but he's going to be a big piece going forward. And Max Scherzer versus, Wade Miley. It should be an interesting matchup. Scherzer had a great game here last year, kind of the iconic start of last year, 6 perfect innings. The Mets are looking good for the series in Milwaukee, and then they'll finally be back home for another set with the Fish.
Yeah, Milwaukee won 2 games in Chicago. They played pretty well. They showed that they're still, pretty good. Yelich, he's their key piece there. Are you going to get 2018-2019 version of Christian Yelich ever again? I'm not sure. But you have guys. William Contreras, the old Atlanta Brave, is there. Rowdy Tellez. You got Bryce Turang, who's a young guy, 23 years old, looking pretty good, and of course Willie Adames, like just a beast. And they have Jesse Winker, who I think is a great pickup for them.
Yeah,
because he went to Seattle and became a castaway, and they get another left-handed guy off the bench, or a left-handed bat in that lineup. And then we know they can pitch, even though they don't have Josh Hader. They got Devin Williams back there.
Yep.
So
yeah, that bullpen always finds a way.
They find a way. They know how to do it.
Yeah. Should be a good series. 3-gamer takes us through Wednesday. And then we're Thursday home opener. You'll be there working. I'll be there as a fan. Should be a good time. And I think that's all we got for episode 151, the first one of the regular season, man.
I'm excited for baseball, but I'm also excited for we're going to come up with some merch. I want to do a Senga merch.
We recently got an MLBPA license, so we can start, throwing names on our shirts. We can start, getting really funky with the designs. So plenty is coming, but rock this Senga shirt for now if you want it.
I'm for it. Somebody asked for multiple colors. Maybe we can make that happen.
Yeah, we're working it out. Yeah, I DM'd the guy actually. We're working it out.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I interact. Come on. All right, guys. Thank you for tuning in. Let's go Mets. We'll see you again on Thursday for a new episode. Could be a busy week.
I'll see you back.
Let's go Mets.
Let's go Mets.